Hi, you're listening to She Shield, your one-stop pod for all topics personal safety. I'm your host, Sofia, and my goal is to help educate women and men on concealed carry, martial arts, and all topics self-defense. This episode is brought to you by BTO, your soon-to-be favorite retailer for all of your firearms needs. They believe in only selling high-quality gear for responsibly armed citizens, as well as providing pre- and post-sale support. BTO values firearms training and supports firearms instructors nationwide. They even pay for their staff to train with high-level instructors to ensure that when you as the consumer reach out, you are taken care of. I'm practically smiling through the mic right now because I'm so excited to have Amy at Amy 9x19 on the show today. Amy, I would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the pod.
Hi, I'm so excited to be on here. I'm Amy, or Amelie Eichinger-Noll, and I'm 26 years old, and I'm currently the only female shooting instructor on the civil sector of defense shooting in the whole German-speaking area.
Wow. Okay. Man, you're incredible. I don't even know how to follow that up. That is just incredible. So before, I definitely had to pester Amy with just so many questions to understand a little bit more about her title and what she does. And Amy, I would love for you to explain kind of what you teach and the way you explain to me kind of how citizens either buy a gun for option A or B and kind of where you fall in that, if you don't mind.
Okay, first off, I have to put out a little disclaimer for the listeners because you may probably hear it. English is not my mother's tongue. Occasionally I'm speaking German, so I'm located in Austria in Europe, and so it's German with a dialect as well, so it's doubled. So I'm sorry if it comes through at any point, and I'm really trying my best to be understandable. So just, Sofia, let me know if there's anything that's not quite well, and I'm trying my best to do it better.
Absolutely. So, thank you for explaining that.
I
meant to bring that up first. Would you like to tell us where in Austria you're from?
I'm near Vienna, so okay. It's probably well known. It's well known, probably. Yes. So Vienna, you know it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
And I'm located around 30 minutes, away from it. So yeah, but
wonderful.
And I really had my thoughts about coming on the podcast in the first place because the language barrier, and it's not the everything or everyday thing to do. So
right.
If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So. I appreciate you going through with it and coming on. I was very nervous too that you may not be comfortable, but I'm just so glad you're here. It's an honor.
I'm trying my best, and I thought to myself, I'm just going for it,
I love it. Yes.
And yeah, I've listened to so many episodes before, and I'm always so touched because it's so emotional. You're listening to people who really put thought and effort into what they say, and I'm thinking I'm missing out on quite some of the vocabulary to do so, but
okay.
We're gonna go with it, I guess.
It's going to be great. And also, I just want to say very clearly, I've never had trouble understanding you when you speak English.
Perfect.
So I was honestly surprised when you wrote me and said you were nervous, because I couldn't believe it, because I just have always understood what you're saying. And we talked a little bit beforehand to the listener that doesn't know this, but we talked about how I've lived in Spain before, and that was me pretty much trying to get by there. And then I also medical translated for an office, and it is truly difficult not speaking your native tongue, especially on something that is very audio focused. And I haven't been in this position before, but I can imagine it's anxiety producing.
True
so
that.
Again, yes,
a little bit.
Thank you.
But I'm on here, and I'm so excited. And to come back to your question, I'm more than happy to explain a little bit about where I started and where it's or how is it like in Austria. So I can only speak about Austria because in Europe, every country has its own laws and rights, and it's so different in every country. So I can only speak for Austria, but I think it's quite interesting to have the differences brought up. So
absolutely,
I'm more than happy to do so.
Thank you.
I'm going to start where I got into shooting probably, and then just head over because it's a little background there.
Perfect, please do.
So it actually all started with my parents founding a shooting club. And my mom is a shooter, and my dad also is a great shooter, and also my idol when it comes to shooting and all the stuff I've learned, because he's an active member of an SOF here in Austria. So he's the shooting instructor of the special force of the Austrian military. And so that's where my knowledge comes from. And it's always been a topic in my life. So it's the topic guns and shooting and stuff like that, and everything that evolves around it has always been present. So it was always a topic that, I wanted to grab onto. And so It was kind of a family thing. And the club was founded way back then, and it was actually training from the executive to the executive. And as I told you before, the voices of the civilian people got louder, because there wasn't such a thing as defense shooting in Austria back then for just civilian people. So you only had access if you were part of the executive as well. And so my parents founded that type of shooting, or were at least part of it. And when I was old enough, or at least when I was 12 years old, I did my first attempt at shooting, or at least, it was such a emotional memory, and I grab onto it still to that day, because it was so special for me, in a very safe space and with my parents, and it touches me still when I think about it. And I can remember the day as if it were yesterday. It's it's such a special moment for a girl standing there with her dad and experiencing it all. And I really held on to that memory, and it was part of my way becoming an instructor as well. And that's where it all started. And then I finished school, and shooting was always present. And then I headed into the legal ways of becoming a gun owner and shooter and instructor. So if you wanna talk about that as well, let me know.
Absolutely. So firstly, I'd like to say I could picture that just from the way you explained it, and it sounds so sweet. It sounds like it was a flashbulb memory for you, and I feel like that happens a lot here in the U.S. The idea of a child shooting their first gun when they're really young is so kind of normalized here. It just sounds like it was so much more special when it happened with you and your parents, because of, it sounds like the contribution they've had to helping your community own guns and advocate for self-defense, and then they're obviously translating that to their own kin. So that is truly a special picture. Thank you for sharing that with the podcast.
You're so
lovely.
Welcome.
I'd love to know what the steps were that you had to take to become an instructor, and even just a civilian carrying a gun, if you don't mind.
So when you want to own a gun, you have to be at least 21 years old. So you have to be that. And there are quite some steps you have to go through to get a gun. It's not like, oh my God, I want to buy a gun, and then you head into the store and get one. It's not like that. So the first thing is getting a license, which is, if I translate it word to word from German to English, it's like a gun driver's license. It's just the first license you have to get in order to get the permit of owning a gun. Right. So, and it's consistent of quite some tests. So you have a psychological talk with a psychologist face to face. So if they know if you're a cray person or not, so Amazing. If you're able to own a gun or not. Wow. And also a psychological test, so you have to take the test. And then you have a theoretical class where you learn about weapon laws and the gun laws in your country. And also a practical part where you, in the best case, you get an instructor that's quite passionate about the topic and teaches you the safe steps of handling a gun, and then you take your first few shots. So, and if you got everything positive from the psychological test, the practical part, the theoretical part, then you're able to go to your executive and order the license of owning a gun. And then they can also say no or yes. And if you're able to get that license, then you're being able to get your own first gun. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's quite some steps to gun ownership here in Austria.
Yes. Man, I do wish we had that. I do. I just want to make sure that I put that out there, that I'm almost jealous of those parameters that
I think it's quite positive. I think it's quite positive because there's some people who are not interested in owning a gun responsible, and I think it's quite a good way to select those people out of the people who are like, you know, I want to get a gun because of sportive reasons or defense reasons, and I'm responsible with it. And the ones who are just making fun out of it or are unresponsible, they're getting selected out of it, I guess. So it's a good first step.
Absolutely. It absolutely sounds like that. And do you have to give the reason for which you want to purchase a gun for defensive or competition purposes? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There are two main reasons in Austria why you can own a gun, or that you can note down on the psychological test. So it's also a reason that it's also a part that they look at. So why do you want to own a gun in the first place? And there's two reasons you can note. The first reason is I want to dive into sports. I want to do it competitively. And the second reason is self-defense. And it's the second good reason to own a gun, yeah? Sportive or self-defense.
I see. And when you were going in at 21, did you tell them you were interested in both, or did you kind of just lead with the defensive side?
I went with both in the first place because, you know, when starting the journey of owning a gun and you're really you're really diving into the whole theme and everything that comes with it, and it's competitive shooting, or you don't have the overlook about all the topics that come with it. You know, you're standing there, oh my god, okay, I'm now able to own a gun, and what will I do with it? Or what am I going to do with it? And you're standing there, and then I really put some thought into what I wanted to do with my gun, or where I wanted to go, and where I wanted my journey to leave. So if you know what I mean,
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. I'm thinking back to the first time I got a gun. It was so easy. I remember thinking when I went in, I would get denied for some reason just because I was nervous, and it was so simple. The guy was like, "Do you have your license? Do you have your social security? Okay, cool. Here's a gun." It was so simple. Of course, they do a background check here. I mean, that's not indicative of the potential future for, you know, crime. So, man, it honestly makes me happy that that's the system there. It sounds like if people are genuinely interested in defending themselves, that they would go through that process. And I don't think it would be really hard, I feel like, with someone with bad intentions to go through that screening process and get through. So that's And how
I guess so. It's harder for as you said, it's harder for people with bad intentions to go through all that steps as if they weren't there in the first place. So I guess it's quite a good thing to have.
Absolutely. And how prevalent is gun culture there? I know that may be kind of a silly question, but when it comes to someone who is wanting to connect with a community of people and learn more about everyday carry and safe holstering and, you know, stopping or preventing printing, it's kind of hard to say together. How open is that community?
It's not a silly question at all because, you know, in Austria, it's quite I don't want to say a taboo, but it's not that common to be shooting, even if it's sportive or competitive. It's not that common to say, oh my god, it's not like I'm playing tennis or I'm playing soccer and I'm going shooting like that. So it's just, it's really a topic you talk about different in society here in Austria. So it's just not that common. So yeah, that's the country.
I'm laughing because that conversation has definitely happened before. I'm going to the gym, and then I'm going to go shooting on the range, and then I'm going to work.
Yeah, and it'd be like that, and it's totally normal for me because I know what I'm doing, you know. But people who haven't been in touch with shooting or the topic in general may have their thoughts about it. If they're right or wrong, I don't know. Yeah, but they have their thoughts about it, and they don't know what's actually happening at the range or at a responsible range, and that's my part of being there and taking them by the hand and saying, hey, just have a look at it and what I'm doing, and it's safe handling and stuff like that. And everything evolves around, safety in the first place.
Absolutely. And how has that been for you? I didn't even think to ask this before, but now that we're in this, on this topic, how has that been for you personally with your friends and maybe extended family, or just people you run into and they ask you what you do for a living?
I'm quite lucky, to be honest, because, family-wise, there hasn't been an issue at all, because my parents were the reason I started in the first place, and they are so supportive, and my grandparents and my whole family as well. So they just are really standing behind me and having my back, and they're seeing I'm happy and passionate about doing what I do, so they're standing behind it. And I'm so grateful for that. So family-wise, there hasn't been an issue. And friends-wise, I studied lectureship at university. So, lectureship has always been my thing, but the topic has changed, I like to say, because teaching, and it's like a passion to teach and give something on to people. But from the normal German and history teacher to shooting instructor, it's quite a change. But
absolutely. So you do teach history? Is that what you said?
I studied it.
I see. Okay.
So I studied lectureship for history and German at a normal school. People from or kids from the age 12 and up. So
wonderful.
It's just that's the thing I originally did, but shooting and the topics and being an instructor, it's always been in thought. And it was always so present in my life. And when I had the chance to go and dive into self-employment, I really did it, and I didn't think about it twice. So, and also, but what I wanted to talk about my study mates and my classmates and also friends, my dearest friends, they aren't into shooting at least they haven't been in touch, and they know what I do, and they would have the chance, but it's living and letting live. Living and letting live, if you know the saying, what I mean?
Yes. Live and let live.
Live and let live.
I believe that's it. I'm honestly not even totally sure, but that does sound right. Yes. Sorry.
It sounds more right than my saying thing. But, I don't want to pressure anyone into my passion, and I don't want to lay it on somebody and say, oh my God, it's so great and you have to love it as well. No, because my best friend is still my best friend, and even if she isn't into shooting, there's still so much connection, human connection. And it hasn't been an issue at all. So wonderful. I'm really open. And some friends actually started shooting because of my profession. So that's
amazing.
And that's amazing.
Oh yeah. It really is. If I hadn't been in shooting and I was your friend, I definitely would want to be at the range with you, of all people.
I'm happy to hear so.
Absolutely. And I've actually, now I didn't intend to share this originally, but I'm thinking about it, and I've had 2 friendships that have gone through hardships because of their disagreement with what I do. And even though my intention is anything but, negative, it's, to help people stay safe and carry smarter and, think about the before, the during, and the after, not just the during, and weapons-based entanglement, actually like fighting with the guns, all of that stuff. Even though that is I have such positive intentions, I've had some difficulties with friends. So it's interesting. That's probably just a person-to-person thing.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yes.
I really
and the
guess
U.S.
so.
is pretty divided, I would say, on gun policy, which I don't talk about much on this podcast, but that's just the truth. So it makes sense that it's happened to me because I'm very open with it. So
yeah, I'm open with it as well. I do social media, and it's just my job, and being there and giving classes and stuff like that. But I've been open, and I'm open about it in the future as well, because I stand behind what I do, and it's not the bad thing, and I don't want the stamp on it. Oh my God, you're shooting, it's the bad thing to do. No, it isn't. Take a look at what I do and then judge. It's just
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I have another direction I want to go in, but I am so curious. Your Instagram, which if you all listening have yet to see Amy's social media, just go to the show notes. I'm going to link everything there. It's so professionally done, and it's so, as a content creator myself, I can just appreciate the quality, the thoroughness you put into your content. I'd like to know, are you your kind of like sole creator? Do you take those photos of yourself in the videos, or do you have someone that helps you with that?
It's so funny that you actually talk about it, because where it all originated from was my, and I quoted, online diary, because, never in my life there has been a point where I said, oh my God, I want to be an influencer and I want to do social media and blah, 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 stuff like that. No, never in my life, ever. Was just, that's the start. It started with, okay, I'm starting to shoot and I wanna have pictures of my journey, and I started it literally for myself. So I started posting pictures, and I thought to myself, if one person is looking at it and it's fine, okay, it's fine. And if 100 people are watching it, it's fine. And then it just got such a dynamic thing, and it grew and grew and grew. And out of my little online diary, it got a big account where I can reach out to people and be a positive influence. I hope so, at least. And it's always been, my main focus always has been on safety and being responsible with your gun. And I always say to my students as well, it doesn't matter the reason why you get a gun, if it's for competitive reasons or self-defense reasons, whatever. You have to be able to treat your gun right and safe. So safety is always the first aspect of handling a gun, And I want to make sure that comes through with my content as well, because there are so many people treating guns like everyday objects, and it's my everyday job, but it's not an everyday object, and it's not a tennis bat or a baseball bat, It's more, and I want to create the thought about getting a gun and why you have it, and the reason doesn't matter, but you have to handle it right and safe. And I want to bring that over in my socials as well. So I would never post a picture that maybe looks better, but has an aspect that isn't right when it comes to safety. So it's always been like that. And so, for me, it's the way to go, and I'm quite happy you'll enjoy my content as well. And I'm so honored to hear that from you.
Absolutely. Yes. It's so well done. And I love hearing your intentions are very clear. It just happened to be that, so many people have come together to support you. I love that you came from a place of just wanting to make basically your community a better place, and share knowledge. And that just makes me really happy to hear, because I know that's not always the intention of people in this industry. So wonderful to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even think to go into that. So awesome. Thank you so much for that. So, and you also compete, correct?
I do competitions.
Yes.
But it's not my main goal to be the first ever competitive shooter in the world, because it's just not the way I train. You have to differentiate it a bit, because, sportive shooting or IPSC, it's the IPSC, it's an international sports shooting, where it's a type of shooting. Yes. So there's sportive shooting and defense shooting. I like to separate it that way. And there are so many different rules. And I also did some classes in IPSC, because I was so interested in the topic and wanted to see what are the differences really like. And I teamed up with a competitive shooter. She's also shooting at the... it's worldwide. I don't know. She's
I'm so
really
sorry. That was probably so loud. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Sorry, what were you saying?
She's shooting at the World Championships, and we teamed up and we did a little training together just to, pull the differences apart. And safety is always the main topic behind shooting in general, and then there are the rules of competitive shooting and defense shooting, and we split it up a bit, and we did the same parkour, and it was just so fun, and I teamed up with her, and yeah, it was just so interesting getting to know quite the insights of a very different type of shooting. And so yeah, I'm shooting competitive, but it's not my goal to reach any medals or anything like that, because it's just a very different type of what I'm training and what I'm doing as my everyday job and what I like to do as a hobby. And I'm also in a shooting club, so there's a monthly competition, and I'm taking part of it every month. So, but as said, it's about being part of it, but not about winning anything at all. Because yeah, it wouldn't make any sense if I would strive to win something that's just not the stuff I train. So.
Right, and that was so beautifully said. I definitely relate to that difference, because I shoot USPSA here, but it's just to get more comfortable with my gun and to improve my skills with marksmanship, gun handling, movement, but by no means do I try to lead with it. So I totally understand that. I really do. And I'd like to ask about, when you say defensive, besides the, I don't want to say obvious, but besides what I think you mean by that, drawing from inside the waistband, working on maybe drills that are more defensive style and accurate to what might happen in an everyday situation, do you also incorporate hand-to-hand combat and weapons-based entanglement, or is that totally different for you?
That's not a topic I teach. So okay. I'm really here for the. You have to look at it this way. If you're a civilian person and you want to own a gun and it's out of defensive reasons, I'm here to teach you the really stress-resistant way of handling a gun. If you're ever in a situation where it's uncomfortable to handle a gun, so it shouldn't be a stress factor additional to the situation you're in, if it's said. So if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And it's interesting as well, because not every civilian or not every gun owner is permitted to carry. So that's another different topic. But you're permitted to carry in your own home or on your property. So, and we know about it, the most issues we have or that happen are at home. And so that's a part to think about, not when you're getting your groceries or stuff like that, because in Austria the majority of the people aren't permitted to carry. So the stuff that's happening with their gun is probably at home, and I'm having my focus on that situation. So
I see. That makes a lot of sense. Are you, as an individual, interested in ever training in kind of like weapon combatives, or is that something you just don't want to do?
No, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think, yeah, but it's just not, I'm not a professional in any way at this topic. So
right.
I'm just into firearms and
yes.
giving my knowledge in that topic to other people. But it would be interesting to get myself into stuff like that. Yes, of course.
Absolutely. I was actually wondering as well, is that something that is offered where you live or by anyone in your, like, just within your vicinity, or?
It's hard to get a good trainer. There are so many instructors or trainers that you have to look at it that way. Not the one who screams the loudest is the best,
Right.
And you really have to go and do your research and what's the background of the people and stuff like that, because for defensive classes and topics like that, there isn't a license in Austria that you have to get to be a trainer. So if you scream "I'm a trainer," yeah, you're a trainer. But I don't know if the education you give to me is or has any worth. Yeah. So you have to do your research, and it's quite hard to find someone that really knows what they're doing in that topic.
That makes a lot of sense. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. And kind of going back to what you specialize in, what types of drills do you emphasize for the students you get in? So say you have a student coming through, they've never done a defensive style drill. What types of drills do you want to make sure you get in that class before they leave?
The most important thing for me, I guess, is to start off with basics. And I can only preach it again and again and again because, there's, about it, it's muscle memory and stress is a factor. And you can only rely on a part of what you've learned before if it's saved in your muscle memory. So you have to train the basics. And it's not only dry firing, but also with live ammo and it's funny because defense shooting is such a big word. It sounds like, oh my god, and I'm rolling around in the dirt with a plate carrier and stuff like that, and I'm the operator with the NV on, and no, I'm just a civilian teaching civilians how to use their gun properly and in a safe way that they aren't stressed out by it. So I like to start off, and it's like I build my classes. They rely on each other, so it's a build-up thing. And I really start always, and I like to put all my students in the same pot because, okay, you have 10 years experience, fine. You have none, fine. It's perfectly fine. Because we're here to learn and teach the safe way of handling a gun, and that's the first thing that I start with. So if you have experience, you're landing in the same pot as the one who starts their journey. So we're all on the same page, and it's also making my classes a lot safer and more easy to look over for me because I know everybody's on the same page, So that's the most important thing, the basics. And then I build up individually with my students on how their handling is and what I like to incorporate, and that's from different shooting positions because sometimes shooting is uncomfortable, and you have barricades or stuff like that, or you're at home and it's dark, and what are you going to do in that situation? But I'm always starting off with the basics, and it's just so important for me.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And how do you structure your own training? Because I know you release a lot of awesome drills on your social media. In fact, I saw one the other day and I bookmarked it because I want to go and do it. I think it's the when you have to reload putting the gun between your legs or something. That's something I've never even thought of. So I thought that was super cool. So how do you structure your own personal training compared to what you teach? In a way, it's quite similar because I like to rely on my basics. It's not about, oh my god, I have to be the fastest and I have to be the most precise one. Because, when I train, I not also train on, their human silhouette or stuff like that. Yeah, of course, as well, because you have to desensibilize it, you know what I mean? Yes, desensitized. Yes.
Desensitized. Thanks so much. I was stuck in the German word.
No, I knew exactly what you were going for.
Desensitize it. Because, in a stress situation and you're always used on stamping your holes into the ring targets, won't go anywhere. Yeah, so. But in my trainings, I like to incorporate my basic drills. So with the proper form of handling a gun, but mixed with a variety of a little stress, wobbly board where you're standing on a spring or something like that, or incorporating one-handed drills, because I think it's so important to train that as well, because when you're in an uncomfortable situation and you wouldn't know how to handle your gun with your non-dominant hand, for example, it's another stress factor that you've could have gone around in the first place if you had trained it. So I like to mix the basics, and I like to, and it's what I show off on my socials as well, a very calm way of training. So you won't see me rushing and doing my drills on, oh my god, I have to be the fastest. No. The movement has to be clean and safe, and the rest will come with practice, That's
absolutely.
I want to put some approachable drills out there for shooters or people who just want an idea of what to train, and it's approachable in a way that they can do it themselves, you know.
Yes.
And also in a safe way, because, you know, and that's my slogan as well: safe handling and having fun. Yeah, it's just, and that really describes it for me, because safety is the most important thing when handling a firearm, but it always, at least in your training, it should be fun as well, you know, because you should have fun doing it.
Absolutely. That's what gets people going back to train and leaves a good impression. Yes, I love that. I have so much respect for that. And that definitely reminds me of, I filmed this fanny pack video, how I would draw from a fanny pack.
That was so cool.
Oh, thank you so much. It made me realize I need a better fanny pack for concealed carry, which I may or may not be working with a brand on, maybe coming out with one soon, but we'll see about that. But thank you. And seriously, the whole time I think I filmed for an hour and a half to get that little 4-minute video, or it was maybe even a minute and a half. It's usually how it goes. I'm sure you know all about
so much
that.
work.
But
yes,
the stuff people do not see. So, but the whole time I was just like, the whole time I was so focused on where my body was. You know, fanny packs are different because the muzzle points away from you when you're loading, like when you're reholstering. So many different safety parameters you have to talk about, and I held off for so long to come out with a video on fanny pack carry, even though I'd been doing it for years. And that's because I didn't feel like I could truly get across how important the safety is with reholstering and just reholstering itself. So, but I've noticed recently there's been an uptick in fanny pack carry, so I felt like it was necessary to bring that attention to that. Yeah. And I put little, you know, like hazards everywhere, like, you know, stay safe, make sure you're not on the range with other people drawing from your freaking fanny pack. Sorry. So, yes, I love that you lead with that as someone who's kind of starting to get into firearms instruction. That's definitely the first thing on my mind. So it's very validating to hear that that's what you lead with. And for those that don't know, I've noticed you shoot with Glocks a lot. Would you like to talk about your relationship with Glock?
So I'm titled as Glock Media Partner, and as some of you may know, there are different types of Glock brands. So Glock Inc. is the one in the US with the competitive team, and then there is Glock Brazil, and I'm working with the original Glock. You know, Glock is made in Austria and it's originated here, and I am their partner when it comes to new products, and I get to test them before they get launched, and I can show my followers the new products and how I like them or not, and how I incorporate them in my training. And you know, in the first place, it was just, before the cooperation even started, it was just my tool of working, because I need a tool to teach shooting, you know. Yes. And as we know, Glock is very reliable when it comes to the functionality and just the gun itself. It's very robust, and you can handle it quite hard, and it works. It still works. So yes, I needed a gun for teaching and for working that wasn't breaking when I touched it there, or wasn't heating up when I shot too much. No, I just needed a gun that works, and so I decided to use Glock. And out of that, and working with and for it over the years, there has been the collaboration born out of it. But yeah, it wasn't the intention of starting, oh my god, I use Glock and then I want a collaboration, and nah, it's just my tool of working, and what I use in my day-to-day job as an instructor, and it's safe and reliable, and but it's great because the collaboration with Glock Austria is a USP, because there isn't anyone that has one with the original firm located in Austria. And I'm quite proud of it, because it was a long and hard way, and I worked really hard for it. And I'm proud I'm here. Absolutely.
I do wonder, are you a fan of Walther by any chance? And if this is something you don't want to share, you do not have to. If I can even take it out later. I'm just curious. Have you ever shot a Walther? Because I know they originated in Germany, but they are like, I know they're like Glock in that they have a different team in the United States than they do in Germany. So their products differ. But is that something
I've shot it before, and I'm allowed to say it, and I liked it quite as well.
Awesome.
But I also like to try out different weapon systems, just to have a bigger mindset when it comes to guns and handling and weapon systems in general, because as an instructor I strive to get better and to multiply my knowledge and to I really soak it up, and from shotguns to rifles and AR-15 and different brands, and I really like to try it out. And so I shot Walther before, and cool. I enjoyed it quite as well.
Very cool. Yes. So I'm a huge fan of Glock, and Walther actually reached out to me when they came out with the PDPF, which is the female version as far as like the contour for the female grip version of the PDP. So I remember being like, all I've ever known is Glock, but I did appreciate that perspective, because I now can talk a little bit about the differences, especially because I get those questions all the time, and I'm sure you do as well. I love that that makes me feel just so happy that you have the intention of understanding various brands, even though you work with Glock, which it could be so easy for you to just be like, no, Glock all the way, but for you to have that perspective is amazing. If you don't mind, what is your everyday carry Glock? I'm assuming it's Glock, but what is it?
I'm not permitted to carry.
Really?
As a civilian, you're not permitted to carry it if you haven't the license for it. And it's so hard to get one in Austria, because only the most special part of the executives are being able to get one. Yeah. So
I apologize. I
don't you worry.
Misunderstood that.
No, don't you worry.
It's mostly for home defense, I guess. When you say okay, so you said that earlier, and I thought maybe you meant both concealed and both home defense. Okay.
No, I really like to train. I also train it. Yeah, like concealed carry, because I just want to know how to do stuff, because. I want to look over my plate and just want to soak up as much as possible when it comes to shooting in general. So not only home defense and stuff like that. So I train it, yes, but I'm not allowed to carry outside the range or outside of my property. So that's not the thing. That's. Probably that's the most misunderstood thing when it comes to Austria. So it's not like, oh, you have a gun, okay, you can carry it. No, it's definitely not like that. It's not allowed. And there are some regulations how to bring your gun to the range and how it has to be carried, but not carried. How you carry it.
Right. Yes. Handled, I guess. I mean, dang. Okay, and so
you have to lock it up and then bring it to the range and then lock it up again and bring it home, blah, blah, blah. You can have it loaded in your home and use it in your home, because you're allowed to carry it in your home and at your property. But if you're stepping outside, it has to be locked up and then drove into the range, and then you can pull it out there and train with it and stuff like that. But it's not general to for people here or civilians. No, not at all. So civilians aren't allowed to carry this only if they have the license to do so, and it's very rare.
Very rare. Okay. So, and I guess I'm surprised that you don't have the right, like you have not passed the. What am I trying to say here? I'm losing my words here.
There's not a way of passing or not passing, because it's not a test that you can sign up for.
Oh, okay.
You can.
Yes.
It's just a law that you can't get it if you're not part of the executive, for example. So
got it. Okay.
And not everybody that's part of the executive is allowed to carry. So you have to very look over it as. Not every gun owner is allowed to carry, and not every part of the executive is allowed to carry, but only the parts of the executive that have the license to carry are being able to do so. So it's quite a little, it's confusing. Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's quite hard, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, if I listen back to this, I'm going to be, hitting myself on that, because I do think you said that. I think I just assumed and stuck with my assumption. And while we're on that topic, what are some other misconceptions about just safety or even just use of self-defense weaponry in Austria, if you don't mind?
In Austria, maybe it's the thought of getting a gun and laying it in your closet and feeling safer. Because that is definitely not the point. And that's what I tell my students all the time. Because I say, if you're getting a gun, you have to know how to handle it. For sportive reasons, competitive reasons, or for self-defense reasons. But if you want to have it out of self-defense reasons and lay it in your little locker and it gets dusty there, it's not safety in any way. It's not safe. If we think it further, it's more of a risk to hurt yourself or others with it if you don't know how to handle it. So it's always a recommendation, if you get a gun out of self-defense reasons or competitive reasons, you have to know how to handle it. So get your education, get your training. And if you're not willing to get it, then don't buy a gun. It's just like that.
Absolutely. That actually happens so much here as well. People buy a gun and put it in their closet and never touch it. And it ends up becoming a liability because of, children getting into it and things like that. So international issue, if that, of course, if you can actually buy a gun. Trying not to sound like too dumb here, but no, thank you for sharing that. That's good to know. And is pepper spray legal, like OC spray or
you have to be 18 to get a pepper spray.
Okay.
It's called animal defense spray here, but you can get one. Yeah.
And you carry it are they small enough that you can conceal it and carry it with you everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And do you personally carry one?
No, I have a Kubotan.
What is that?
A Kubotan, it's like a little stick for your palm. And it's with the pressure. It looks like a pencil, but it's made of metal. And I have it on my keyring, and I did some self-defense classes before, so it's just for my personal feeling. And I think if you have a little bit of knowledge and have a little bit of what you can grab onto, if a situation would ever happen to you, where you're not comfortable, and it's just so you can radiate that you're not a victim and you can stand up for yourself. And it's just for my personal feeling, because I hope that I would never have to use it. But yeah, that's the thing I carry. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's great to know. I think nowadays people are starting to look into weapons like that, and I don't want to call them non-lethals because I'm sure you could, kill with them. But compared to a gun, I've seen a lot of women choose that. Mm-hmm. And I'm forgetting what SAPs stand for, but it's small. Let's see what it stands for. Sorry, I'm having to look this up. Blackjack, Kosh, or SAPs refer to any of several short, easily concealed club weapons consisting of dense, often lead, weight attached to the end of a short shaft. That has actually been a weapon that's come to my attention recently. Have you ever heard of SAPs? Is that something that...
No, never.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to this thing called the Combatives Summit Association, or Combatives Association Summit, CAS, in September, actually the end of this coming month. So once I do that, I will, I'm going to take my first SAPS class, and it's going to be really interesting because anytime I talk to women, my kind of laundry list of ideas is either, pepper spray, which POM is kind of in my opinion, the industry standard for pepper spray. Don't tell Saber, but POM, palm pepper spray, and then, of course, a firearm. And then if they're not comfortable with that, any type of small edged weapon that they train with,
Yeah.
right? That's like the huge difference, because
Yeah.
I have a friend that's really opened me up to that side of the world that carries a knife but doesn't really know how to use
Yeah.
a knife. Speaking of, I should have asked this first. Are knives something that you're allowed to carry?
Yeah, in Austria we're allowed
Okay.
to carry knives. There are zones in some cities where it's forbidden. So
Okay.
if you got
Cities, wow.
stopped by the police and said in those zones, they would look through if you have something on you. There it would be forbidden. But other than that, you're allowed to carry a knife. Yeah.
Interesting. Is there a limit on the blade length?
No, not in Austria.
Really?
In Austria,
Okay.
it's not. No.
That's interesting. I think it goes by state here. I'm over here like you know so much about your country, and I'm like hypothesizing
It's a little bit
over
smaller
here.
though, so
That's fair.
don't
that's
you
fair.
worry.
Thank you. That's fair. So I know, like in Arkansas, I don't know this actually. So if anyone's listening and they're taking my word, add a lot of salt. Just put some salt on there. But essentially, it used to be, I think, 3 inches. I think it's gone up to 4 inches now. That's illegal. So anytime people ask me about what to consider when purchasing a knife, it's always about like state laws, what you need to look into,
Yeah.
and then also the ramifications of owning a knife and having to stab someone, all the things that people just do not think about when they carry a knife. And so that's interesting. Do you have any friends that carry a knife, or just anyone you know that carries a knife because they're unable to carry a gun?
No, not that I know, because
Okay.
those people who aren't into shooting and the technical stuff and the scene in general aren't really open-minded for those topics. And
Yes.
those who are in the scene are, on the one hand, carrying a gun if they're
Yes.
permitted to do so.
Right.
Or like me, like the Kubotans, the punch thing, you know, the stuff you can
Yes.
do, like non-lethal stuff, like other than a knife or something like that, and they use that. So if they're open-minded enough or into the scene like that, they also carry stuff like this, so like little palm sticks and stuff. But other than that, no.
Okay, that's
It's
good
not
to know.
not so common to carry a gun for self-defense purposes, and it's
Right.
not so broadly trained. And as I said before, it's so hard to get a good trainer and some good education on it. And as you said before, if you're not training with it, it's not quite necessary to carry anything, you know.
Absolutely. And what about your? I hope it's okay that we've turned this into kind of a conversation about local
of
laws.
Course, of course.
Okay, thank you. This is
if
so
I don't know
interesting to
anything,
me.
if there's anything I don't know, I would say so. So then.
Thank you. Perfect. And when it comes to law enforcement, there, what do they carry mostly?
If they are allowed to carry, or in the
on duty.
On duty.
On duty.
The Austrian police, as their handgun is a Glock. So,
Okay.
and there are different rifles depending on the special force or the unit they're in. So it depends.
I see. Okay. I believe the Glock 17
Yeah, it's the standard.
is the yes. I believe that's also the standard here. So that's super interesting. Yeah. And so do you work? This is just out of curiosity. Kind of I'm jumping around here. I don't know if you can tell, but
feel free.
Do you work with? Thank you. Do you work with like Catherine Glock or kind of like the people that are?
She's the wife of Gaston Glock, the founder of Glock, and that's the couple I work with, because that's the how to say it,
originators.
Yeah, exactly. He founded the brand in the 1980s, and then the whole brand got evolved, and Catherine is his wife, and I've met them before, and so I'm working quite tightly together with them, because here in Austria, there isn't a shooting team, there isn't a competitive team, there's no stuff like that. It's only in the US or in Brazil. And so we're focused on a really, I don't know how to say it,
defensive approach or
it's not focused, there isn't an official social of Glock Austria.
Okay.
And so there's Catherine as her role as a leader and for women empowerment and standing for all those positive things and bringing that out there in her own way. And I'm there like using the product and being an instructor and reaching out to the customers and showing what to do with the product itself. And so there's the official account of Catherine, and then there's mine account, like the media partnership with showcasing all the products and using them as my everyday tools. So
wonderful.
It works like that. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I meant to ask you that earlier, but I followed her for a while and I love the story she not the story, but I guess the message she sends for women's empowerment. That's so cool. And you two together in a room just be like an incredible power duo. So that's just so cool to see.
I went shooting with her before and it was such a surreal moment, standing there with her at the range and telling her, okay, and that's the approach I like to do and blah, blah, and just being there. And it was just so surreal that it's a memory.
Did you train her?
That day I was at Villach. It's the city where the Glock wait a second.
Manufacturers?
Villach is it called? The city. Villach. It's a city in Austria where the company has its original location. Yes.
Okay.
And I've visited the company, and then we went to the range together, and it was just so.
Wow.
It was awesome.
That's amazing. That's so very cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. So I'd love to know, this is, before kind of going on to your future plans, what does an everyday schedule look like for you between, you said you're a student, right?
I'm not anymore. So I'm self-employed now. Yeah.
Okay.
I ticked off my studying, and then I just headed on to being an instructor full time. And with social media, it always takes quite some time and work and effort to do that as well. So that's the main jobs I'm focused on. Yeah.
Wonderful. So what does an everyday look like, or what does that everyday schedule look like for you between content creation, shooting to train yourself, training other people? What does it look like?
If I take just a normal day of giving classes, it's just getting up in the morning, then heading to the range, which is about an hour away from my home, and then I'm preparing my classes there and getting everything done, and then the students come, and my classes are varying between 2 and 4 hour blocks of pure education and pure learning and studying and practical training and stuff like that. And then usually there's a little break for me at midday. Then it goes on with classes till the evening or the afternoon and stuff like that. And for content creation, I'm taking my extra days, so I'm planning it into my schedule. And I'm really putting thoughts and effort into it, so I'm planning everything beforehand. And then, because you asked who films, and it's my whole family, my mom and my dad and my husband, and they all have to be standing behind the camera, and I'm like, I always have those visions, and I'm saying, okay, that's the video idea, and they bring so much into it as well, because we're quite a team, and I'm so happy to have such supportive parents and such a supportive hobby, and I'm so grateful for that, because it brings me so much more forward with the stuff I do, having them behind my back. And we're planning and getting and creating ideas and getting up with stuff, and then we drive to the range and we film it, but all the stuff we do ourselves, so I'm not sourcing anything out. I tell them what I want to have filmed, and then I sit down and I start cutting and editing and blah 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 and stuff like that. But you know how much effort goes into that, so it's quite
absolutely
time consuming, and I incorporate that into my classes as well.
That's wonderful. Yes, I recently took a job that I fortunately have someone doing the production side a lot of the times, and then I just do some of the editing, and then I also film and edit. But it's so nice when someone can just help with that first part. And it sounds so lovely, the setup you have with your family. That just sounds delightful, and
it really
I can
is.
tell you're so grateful, and it's going to be cool going forward to see your wonderful, and it's going to be amazing to watch your content and know that behind the camera or helping you out is your family,
and it's so funny to look back on it, because in the start, as I said, it was my personal online diary, and I started. I don't know how to pose in front of a camera, and I wasn't sure of holding the gun, if I did it the right way, because, keyboard warriors and stuff like that,
Yes.
And I was afraid of the backlash I would get or stuff like that. And now it's like, okay, and I have that idea, and what would you put into it? And you film it this way, and I cut it that way, and it's just so more... It has grown so much, and I'm so grateful already at that point, looking back and seeing what we've come, how far we've come, and I'm so proud of it. So I'm so happy I have those people so near by me and standing behind my back and having my back, and I'm just so grateful and happy doing it with them together.
That's so lovely. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for sharing that with the listeners. And I'd love to know, what are your goals for the next year, 5 years, 10 years? Do you have anything that you're excited about, you want to share?
I have so many things excited about. Currently I'm working on a Glock Girls Day. It's a project I came up with, and it's taking place the first time in September. So on September the 23rd. I'm partnering up with Glock, obviously, and I wanted to create a class only for women. Me as a female instructor, and being able to help doing them their first steps, or take them by the hand and teach them this is the safe way of doing so, and getting to know the gun, and just in a very safe space that there's no pressure around. And I just created that, and I'm so excited for it to finally taking place. And then there are so many projects in the future that we're currently working on, but I guess my main goal is to make shooting more approachable in general for starters, and women especially, because it's still, here in Austria, it's very dominated by men still. And there's no such thing as many female instructors. And I'm so happy that I had my dad back then when I started, because he's so understanding. And even if it was a little bit of pressure and, the strict hand of a father figure that leads you through the way of becoming a professional shooter or shooter. But maybe there are some girls or women out there who are afraid of shooting, or not quite sure about the topic itself, and maybe it would help them to get taken by the hand by another woman who can say, okay, listen, it goes like that, and you don't have to be afraid, and I'm here to help you. So I just want to be a positive influence on those who want to start, and maybe be the one that they can rely on when they start and want to learn how to safely handle a gun. So it's just, I want to make it more approachable. That's
incredible, and beautifully said. The Glock Girls
with my restricted vocabulary.
Seriously though, okay, so I made a mental note to say this at the end of the episode. You are very articulate and speak very clearly, a lot better than a lot of people here. So no one I'm close with, that I'm calling out just in general, speaking to the public, and you're doing very well. So please don't worry.
I appreciate it.
You have a better vocabulary than a lot here, so that's the most I'm going to say. But Is the Glock Girls Day, is that open to the public? Is that something that you're just doing within Glock to get the kind of like the employees of Glock trained? Or
no, it's for civilians. For the first or the premiere of the event is just planned. Like I posted a little video about talking about just talking about the event, and then the people, or especially women in Austria here, had the chance of commenting and winning 1 out of 10 cards for the event. So it's nothing you could sign up for, and it's just really this special event. And this it's quite exciting for me, because it's the premiere and the start of what in a few years, or hopefully, will be a series of events happening throughout the country. So then it's approachable for women in the whole country who want to learn how to shoot a gun. So, and then
That's
in a
incredible.
safe space, and only from girl to girl, talking girl to girl.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I have a friend that her name's Adelina May. She only does women's classes, and she loves it. She just loves that dynamic.
It's so cool, and I really like her style of doing it, because it's just so approachable for girls who want to dive into the scene, and it's probably it's a bit easier in the US to do so, because here is the gun rights, the laws, and blah blah blah, and the stuff you have to go through, and it's a bit harder here, and it isn't as common as in the US, but I want to make it more approachable, and starting projects like this probably helps the scene, being more positive and open about it, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's going to do so much for the community. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm excited for all those women, slightly jealous too that they get to train with you. So I will definitely have to make a trip there. And,
I hope you're visiting one day, and then we're going to hit the range, girl.
Yes. And if you come here, I don't know if that's something of interest to you, but
I'm
have a
heading
place to stay. If you
to the US the first time ever next January when SHOT Show is hitting.
Wait, hold on. You're going to be at SHOT Show?
Yeah, my first time ever, and I'm so excited.
Oh my god. Okay, I'll see you there.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yes, that is so
I can't
exciting.
contain myself right now.
What'd you say?
I can't contain myself right now. It's just so great.
I'm so excited. I get to meet you so soon. That's not even... That's just a couple months away.
4 months or so.
Yeah, a couple. I'm so excited to meet you. I'm assuming you'll be with Glock, right?
No, I'm driving. I'm flying over there with my husband, and out of some other how to say it for my job,
what am I trying to say? Brand connections, like
and there's another fair in Europe happening. I don't know how if you know it. It's called IWA, Outdoor Classics. It's like the biggest fair surrounding the topics shooting, hunting, stuff like that, and it's taking place in Germany every year. And I'm being there for their team as well, and teaming up with them, and so yeah. Because of that, I'm going there the first time, and I'm so excited already.
I am so excited for you. That's incredible. I'm definitely going to see you there. We'll make it happen. I'd love to grab dinner with you.
Yeah,
if you'd like
of
to.
course, anytime.
Cool. Yes. So this is SHOT Show, first time. I will warn you, it's a lot, but it is so much fun.
I can only imagine. I'm probably gonna be standing there. Oh my god, I'm so overwhelmed of everything that's happening there, and but I'm so excited to be being there.
What was the name of the brand you're going on behalf of?
It's IWA, EVA.
Okay.
And it's EVA Outdoor Classics, and it's one of the biggest fairs in Europe as well. So similar to SHOT Show, but with topics like hunting and outdoors mixed with shooting and stuff like that, airsoft, and it's great.
Wow.
And it's happening every year in Germany, and so I'm teaming up with them to also be there at SHOT.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and will you have your own booth?
No, not my personal booth. I'm just with them there. They have a very big pavilion. This year the EVA, it's called the EVA Pavilion. I don't know if you know it. It's the IWA.
I do not.
Look it up. It's really great.
I will. Absolutely. I've noticed while this industry is very niche, there's also a lot in the industry. It's niche, but also
definitely
expensive. So
yeah, definitely.
I will absolutely look into it. I will mark it on. I know they have an app. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but SHOT Show has like their own app so that you can navigate the floor more easily. So
oh my God.
It's very nice. I did not use it very much, and I wish I had used it more. I basically did this thing where I would just ask people where to go all the time. I would just
I'd
be
that sounds so like me. Okay.
It's just, you might as well, because some people there have been doing it for so long, or they've walked around a lot, or they just really know the floor. So yes, and wear comfortable shoes. I don't know why I packed only heels, and I packed a couple pair of shoes that I bought specifically for SHOT, and I did not break in before. So this year's going to be different. Yeah. But between the after parties, events, and just meeting all of the people that you interact with on social media for the first time in real life, it is such an exciting time. So I cannot wait to meet you.
I'm looking forward already. Oh my God. So cool.
Absolutely. And one of my friends actually has a range not too far from the Venetian in that location. So if you wanted to go shooting, I can talk to her and maybe we can get something together.
Well, we can talk about that later.
Depends on how long you're there for. Yes, that sounds good. That sounds perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I don't have any more questions for you, but I would love, before we end today, if there's anything you would like to share with the listeners before we head off. I'd love for you to do that now.
I probably have only one thing to say. So if you want to start, so if you're like a beginner and at the very start of your journey, just start. Really take your time and do your research on your instructors and your trainers and find someone you're comfortable with, and then dive into the scene and into the topics and take your time and your effort to really learn how to handle your gun. And the most important thing is to handle it safe. And there we are, back with my slogan, as always and most important, safe handling and having fun.
Having fun. I love that. What does that sound like in your language? Or how do you say that in your language? Do you have like a translation?
It would be sichere Handhabung oder Handhabe deine Waffe sicher und habe Spaß dabei.
Oh,
that would
so
be in German.
Thank you for sharing that. Seriously, that's so beautifully said. I've listened. This is just a side note. I've listened to your videos when you are speaking German, and I've noticed like the inflection on your tone. Like I can almost tell what you're talking about, especially when you say "good morning, family," or like you say something like that, and then I can almost kind of tell what you're saying a little bit, but I also maybe am just making stuff up. So it's just interesting how... Yeah,
it really is. Because, when you're listening to someone, but I always like to do a little translation under there in English just to keep it more international, because, I want to keep it authentic. Talking in German, it's my mother's tongue, and then but I want to reach my non-German speaking followers as well, and so I like to keep it international, and English is just the way to go, and so I do a little context there. But I know what you're saying, because the feelings are coming a little bit more through the screen with a person talking in their mother's tongue, because emotions and stuff. But I totally know what you're talking about.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing that. It has been an honor to speak with you. You are so lovely. I feel just like so uplifted and
I have
excited.
To give that right back to you. Oh my God.
Okay, fine. I guess. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I'm glad that you enjoyed this, and we can chat a little bit after. But in the meantime, for anyone listening to this and wanting exclusive content from this episode, you can join the Patreon. There will be a link in the bio, which is or I guess a link in the show notes, which are the notes under the description. You would think I would get this down by now because I've read this script so many times. But if you're interested in seeing content from this episode, you can go to the She Shield or Instagram, TikTok for show updates, pictures of the guest speakers, and podcast highlights. Thank you to Sagetta Gear, one of the sponsors of She Shield, for 10% off. Sagetta Gear, you can use code SheShield10 and make sure you do that at checkout. All resources mentioned in the episode will be in the show notes, the notes below the title. And if you like the podcast, you can truly, truly help by liking, subscribing, and leaving a review wherever you like to listen. I know on Spotify, that's just, you scroll up, there are these stars, you click on the stars and you rate it. It takes like 2 seconds. If you or anyone you know is a firearms owner experiencing a crisis, look into holdmyguns.org. They are an organization that will connect you with the local gun shop or FFL to store your firearm for you. Whenever you're ready to get your gun back, they will gladly hand it back to you. It is a mental health resource, and if you have a friend that has maybe not heard of this, please share that with them. The link to access their website is also in the show notes. Thank you for listening. In the meantime, stay safe and stay vigilant.